Welcome to another episode of SportsVibe. Arnav Sarkar here with Jitesh Ramakrishnan and Kapil Nathan. Another busy week of NFL action. Also going to talk some other sports, some Shohei Ohtani's deal with the Dodgers. We could talk about Juan Soto's deal with the Yankees. Some MLB free agency stuff going on, and yeah, I mean maybe some NBA, some NHL in there as well. But as always, the NFL Week 14 recap. A lot of games. We could just dive in. Starting with Thursday Night Football, Patriots Steelers. I'm sure you guys both have a lot of thoughts on this one.
Yeah. First thing is,
Uh,
I view this as multiple wins. Number one, we actually won. Number two, Bailey Zappi looked really sharp in the first half. Number three, we didn't screw up our tank. We're still at the number two overall pick. We don't have a chance at number one because the Carolina is doing an incredible job for Chicago. So number one was always out of the picture. So I view this as 3 wins on Thursday.
yeah. So a great game for the Patriots defense and for Bailey Zappi. I really didn't want to win, but sure, this was a good win. I hate the Steelers, so that's always good.
Mm.
Yeah, top two pick.
Absolutely.
If we can get Marvin Harrison, I would be very happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Arnav?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean it was a pretty good game from Zappi and improvement. The Steelers are kind of on the wrong track. They've lost two straight to Cardinals, and Patriots are both,
they've
I think,
they,
like
they've
two and
lost two
ten or
straight.
something like that,
Yeah,
coming
they've
into
lost two
and
straight
two and nine or
to
something.
teams that are 2-10.
Yeah, 2 and 10. Yeah, so not looking too great. I mean, that's a competitive division. AFC is very competitive in the playoff race, so I'm not exactly sure it's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I guess for the Patriots, that kind of worked out in terms of the tank, and they got a win. I mean, I remember those
Yeah.
Patriots Steelers games in the 2010s. That was a big rivalry, so it's
Uh,
interesting. But
well,
yeah,
can we really call it a rivalry when we're just
it
too
was
busy destroying the
somewhat
Steelers every
one-sided.
time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. But anyway, moving
Let's
on
talk.
to
Let's
Texans
talk
Jets.
up.
Or
The Texans Jets, yeah. This was a doozy, I guess, first half and most of the third quarter. I think, the Texans offense is looking different without Tank Dell. Good game for Zach Wilson and good game for the Jets defense. Held,
This is probably Zach Wilson's best game of his career, and he's only had one of them.
I still think, the Chiefs game might be, better the second half especially, but this was good too.
No, but at least here, like well, and the first half was dreadful, of course, but it's like the second half,
Mhm.
like he really clicked. Like he actually looked like a somewhat decent quarterback for once in his life.
Mhm. Yeah.
As for the Texans, well, CJ Stroud has a concussion right now, so things aren't looking all that great, and especially when you're in the wild card hunt, it's going to be a little bit
Hmm.
tough.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess pretty much said it. But I mean, it was I guess because of the concussion, but I mean, the Jets really got going. Kind of an interesting time to get going. Zach Wilson looked really good. It's just amazing what they could do when you give him a little bit of freedom, and he looked really good. But it was one of the big surprises of the week. I was kind of expecting kind of like the opposite, but
No, I think you could argue that this was the upset of the week. No, actually, I'd give that to Bears over the Lions.
that's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
speaking of, yeah, let's talk about that game as well. Justin Fields played a great game. The Lions weren't
Fantastic,
able,
especially that
yeah,
4th and 7 throw, or is that
fourth and
fourth and
13,
13?
13,
13,
yeah.
13.
Yeah, the Lions, I thought they'd come back in the final 2.5 minutes like they did last time. That didn't work out. So, interesting. Lions defense, they've been good, but they were not good. And, that's interesting.
No, they've been shaky in their last few performances. This
You
one
know,
against
they
New
were,
Orleans, against
I,
Green Bay.
well, I think the New Orleans was just because they kind of let off the gas a little bit, but this one was just kind of bad overall.
Yeah, and
So,
especially against Seattle. Like
yeah,
Detroit's defense
Jared,
has consistently been shaky.
yeah, I'm concerned about Jared Goff. Like seriously, he had like very few turnovers the first half of the season. Now it's almost like two turnovers a game, and that's
Now he's looking like Jared Goff when he first got traded to the Lions, and that's not a
yeah.
good thing.
So
But all props to Chicago. You still have the number one overall pick, courtesy to
Right.
Carolina, and you still are sitting at like a seventh overall pick with your own selection because you can't win that much. And also Justin Fields had a brilliant game. So, I mean, is this enough to convince Chicago to not draft another quarterback? I don't know.
mhm.
But he's deadly. I think it's safe to say over this past season, in the last few weeks, he started to show more of that promise of what he really can be when the Bears drafted him at 15th overall a couple years ago. He's starting to show more of that promise.
Who, Justin Fields?
Yeah.
11th overall, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. 11. I can't remember certain draft picks unless you count 199.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good win by the Bears. Yeah. Definitely an upset, and yeah, I thought the Lions a little bit back, but they're still in the 3 seed in the NFC, so first in the North. So it's probably not going to change, especially the way the Packers are looking. But I guess we could jump to Ravens Rams. That was a really good game in
Great
the
game.
early time slot.
Yeah.
Great game.
Definitely. I'm at like a walk-off return touchdown. I haven't
Yeah,
seen that
overtime.
since,
You don't see that often.
Yeah, but like I remember the Jets game from last year, but that was about it.
Oh
But
yeah.
in overtime, you don't see these. You don't see these in overtime. So great. This is a great game. Other than that, both. I mean, like Ravens defense is honestly like somewhat questionable for me. They've been playing great football. Then they kind of, every 3 or every 4 weeks, they just have that one bad game for some other reason. But then they go back to, playing really well.
Yeah,
Lamar playing really
OBJ turned back the clock.
Yeah, looked pretty good. Yeah.
against his old team, no doubt. So yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily say this is a bad game for the Rams. I mean, of course, it's a bad game given the timing because you're still in the wild card hunt. But I wouldn't necessarily say this is a bad game for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about the Panthers Saints, talk about a bad game. Bryce Young still looked, rather hapless, but I think some of these, some of it's on him, but some of it is most of it should be on his supporting staff, his play caller. I saw a tweet that, Thomas Brown is actually fired. He just has to still call the plays and go to work. So, it's really unfortunate, they don't have a top draft pick, but they'll bounce back in the future, I'm sure.
Well, how long is that future going to take?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, but Saints look okay. They didn't look. They looked okay.
Nothing really phenomenal, but they managed.
They did manage.
Yeah.
I guess let's stick with the NFC South. Let's recap Bucks Falcons.
Yeah.
First of all,
this was a great game.
Yeah. First of all,
great game.
Desmond Ridder, amazing pick six.
Well, it wasn't pick six but like it was basically but like
pretty much.
I'm questioning the play call too. I'm like, you're not supposed like.
That's who. And forget being in your own red zone. That's honestly, within like the first 10 yards.
Honestly, I wouldn't even put that one on Desmond Ridder just because the receiver just completely whiffed on the block. So, I'm not going to put that on, Desmond Ridder. But this Falcons offense, I thought it was making strides, but now they're stuck in the mud. The Falcons defense, I could say the same thing because like Baker Mayfield, last minute legacy drive. He's done it quite a few times this season, and his defense let him down, especially in Houston. But this time, not that.
But we had a Falcons anomaly. Kyle Pitts scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
a rare sighting.
Wow.
Yeah, Drake London also played good. I mean, like this was a good game for like the Falcons. They just have to figure out how to use them, like actually use them, like actually use all their weapons at once in the same game, and just having a hard time with that. Yeah. So let's go to speaking of kind of South related Colts and Bengals. Jake Browning is not playing like Nick Foles from 2017, but he's kind of playing like that. He's like starter goes down, the team's doomed for the year, but then so here comes this knight in shining armor. He's playing good. He's playing good football, but yeah, he has a great supporting cast. But he isn't like obviously he isn't Joe Burrow, but he's playing pretty dang good.
Yeah, and what is this like? Past 2 weeks, like when he's the quarterback for the Bengals, like both times they scored over 30 points. Yeah, last week against Jacksonville, and of course this week against the Colts. Like Jake Browning has looked really solid. The Bengals certainly do have a chance to break into the postseason. If they do, that will certainly be miraculous. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's definitely going to be very tough, especially when half the AFC is 7-6 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Bengals defense, they've been bad all year, but this year they played pretty good against this, indie team that was rather hot going into that game. So, it's pretty good. So, speaking of hot team, let's go to the Jaguars and the Browns. And like Jaguars were playing so well, then the Trevor Lawrence injury, last week, and then the this game. I don't think the injury affected Trevor Lawrence a
I
lot.
mean, but he was good, but terrible at the same time. Like three
Yeah,
touchdowns kind of offsets with three
Yeah.
interceptions.
yeah. I think the Jaguars, their defense, they've been really shaky these past few weeks. I mean, like giving up, 34 to Jake Browning and giving up, as many points to the Browns now. Credit. I mean, is it a defense thing? Because I mean, like I remember only giving them 17 to Kansas City week 2. So
Yeah.
so this is I mean they're in the thick of the playoff race. They're in the thick for the 1 seed. You can't have these defensive collapses
Well,
now.
I think it's safe to say after this performance, they're not chasing that 1 seed because Baltimore has a game on everyone right now. Like second place is
Mm-hmm.
it's
It's
Miami, right?
Miami. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of
If
course
they
Miami
won.
Miami choked, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flacco played good for the Browns.
Flacco played great. 300
Really
yards,
good.
2 touchdowns. Credit play Kevin Stefanski. Great
I
play
get
calling.
I guess Flacco only plays well when he's in the AFC North. Baltimore and then now Cleveland. Of course, he was trash with the Jets. That's not a surprise. Nearly every quarterback goes to die with the Jets. But I don't know. Like Flacco, he somehow, like, at 38 years old, yeah, he's looking pretty sharp. I don't know how he's doing it. And the Browns certainly have a chance to make some noise in the playoffs. But honestly, I bring this question more towards like the Browns quarterback situation.
Yeah.
No, because like every quarterback has been able to some extent like play pretty well. Deshaun Watson, Thompson, and then now Flacco. Like all have had instances of playing well. So it's like really like there's got to be some more credit that's going to be distributed towards their quarterbacks and their offensive coordinators. So like their
But yeah.
quarterbacks coaches, I
I
should
mean,
say.
you kind of have to give credit to Kevin Stefanski. Like he's more entire system after Deshaun Watson went down, after Nick Chubb went down, after both their tackles are done for the year.
You could argue Stefanski could also be a coach of the year nominee. You could.
Could, yeah, especially if he takes his team to a playoff. He might if he gets him a playoff win or two, definitely for sure. I think so. So speaking of playoff wins, let's go out west, San Francisco and Seattle battling it out, and man, San
Class game
Francisco.
from
That was a
a
good one.
Class A grade from San Francisco. Class A grade.
I think that's too low. This is an A+. Great game.
Niners were on fire.
Both sides.
Well, we're in college. They don't exactly give out A+. At least here in Rutgers. I don't know about down in Alabama. So A+, same thing for us.
Yeah, a great game. Seattle, obviously they didn't have Geno Smith, though I don't know how much closer it would have been with him. DK Metcalf got ejected, and this Seattle defense, just been gashed these past few weeks. But like,
I mean, Seattle's defense hasn't really had a chance to rest over the past couple of weeks. Like you see who they played.
Yeah,
it's a miracle they didn't give up 40 to the Niners.
Yeah, they already have almost. So
well, last Sunday I should say.
Yeah. Speaking of giving up 40, let's go to the Vikings and the Raiders.
Quite the opposite, but yeah.
Yeah, and giving up 40 minutes of life to watch the game or 4 hours
Fair
of
enough.
life. But, yeah,
I think I saw a
this is
stat
crazy.
correctly saying that this is the first 3-0 game since like November of 2007.
Yeah, which is the Mud Bowl. I don't really remember what that was.
Wait, Steelers Dolphins? Was it that one?
I think so.
Not sure. Yeah,
Right, let me look it up. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, Steelers Dolphins. Yeah.
Yeah. Great game. Great game for both defenses, I guess. Credit Brian Flores, man. What he's done in Minnesota, like I mean, like Jitesh and I know the work he's done, obviously, but this guy should be at the top of everybody's head coaching candidate list, right up there with Ben Johnson. I'd be shocked if he's not a head coach next year. Sure he has that thing still going, but Speaking
Oh
of, but
yeah.
let's talk about the offense. Yeah, Josh Dobbs got benched, and he seems to be permanently benched for now.
Oh.
Because
You know,
I think Nick Mullins was just announced as the starter for
yeah, the
next week.
and Nick Mullins
Hmm,
went to my rival high school, so that kind of
interesting.
sucks. To
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. They have to kind of figure out how to handle all these injuries and on offense especially, and figure out how they can kind of get themselves with like if they're gonna make a playoff push, then they have to get all units working together. But if they don't, like a mid first round pick isn't going to do anybody harm. This was a decent season, despite Kirk Cousins going out.
And Justin Jefferson again with another injury. I think this time
Uh,
a chest
Chest
injury.
injury. Don't that was a hospital ball, so
Yeah.
won't blame him too much. I just hope he's okay. So
I mean, honestly might be best to shut him down for the season, especially since he's going into free agency too.
I think he has the 5th year option. So, well, he still
Oh yeah,
honestly
yeah,
has
yeah, but it's like
he still
I
has
don't
two
know.
years. He still has this year and then next year because they picked it up. So he should be okay. Of
They picked up his option, right, right. All right, so
course,
yeah.
they would pick up his option.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No,
So
no, like no, like I just forgot which year he's drafted. Like I kept thinking he was 21, so I'm like, why did they pick up his option already? I forgot that he was drafted in 2020. So yeah, but I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
So
go. Let's go to
Speaking of
Broncos
out for the
Chargers.
year, yeah. Speaking of out for the year, now Justin Herbert, he's done for the year.
mm,
Unfortunate. Um,
so many quarterbacks this
Bronco,
year. It's
yeah,
crazy.
Broncos
Too
deep,
many
bro,
no too many quarterback injuries.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
a ton of starting quarterbacks from this year. They've been either benched or just injured. That's that's really interesting to see. Credit the Broncos defense, man. They've been playing out of their mind, since the 70-20 game. Broncos offense also played rather well. Brandon Staley should, probably be, counting those last checks with, every cent he has because he's not going to get another one. So, yeah.
Uh, well, the question is, if he hasn't gotten fired in the past couple of years, why is he going to get fired now? But then again, the Chargers know something about firing coaches too late. We've seen that with Anthony Lynn,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of a habit with the Spanish ownership.
Yeah. Speaking of looking silly,
Oh my
let's go to
goodness.
the Bills and Chiefs. Kadarius Toney being offensively offside. I mean, like
Jeez.
No,
other than that
I,
point, this was a
no,
good game.
It was a good
no,
game.
no. Here's the thing. I don't want to hear any complaining about this whatsoever. I mean, you're a professional wide receiver, and you don't know what the hell is like where the hell is like the
Line of
like the
scrimmage.
neutral zone right there. Like you don't know where's the line of
Yeah.
And you could
scrimmage.
check with the officials and
Yeah,
and he didn't
But
even
come,
do
like
come,
he
that.
did, he
no,
did, he did,
Oh,
no.
he
he
Here's the
did?
did.
thing. No. I don't want that excuse. In Pop Warner, you're taught where the line of scrimmage is. In Pop Warner, in Pee Wee football, you're taught where the line of scrimmage is. You're a professional wide receiver, and you've been
Mhm.
in the league now for a couple of years. You've had experience with multiple teams, and you still don't know where the line of scrimmage is as a wide receiver. That's a testament to you. I don't want to hear any complaining, but I don't want to hear any complaining about you getting screwed over on that lateral touchdown. I mean, don't get me
And
wrong.
I think,
That
I
was a
think,
It
I
very
was a
nice
think,
cool
play.
touchdown, but
I,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I agree.
I think Mahomes recognized that afterward. But
Yeah.
other than
Yeah.
that,
I don't.
this was a pretty decent game. I think
No,
much needed will for
Buffalo
Buffalo.
needed this. Buffalo
Hmm.
needed
They did.
this.
I mean, if any game was, these next two games, I guess these are going to be the most important for Buffalo because they have Dallas, coming in, and
That's
Dallas
going to
Oh
be
is
a
wow.
fun
not.
one. That's
That's
going
Dallas
to
going
be
to
a
be
Cowboys
fun one.
fun,
Bills. Ooh, that's exciting.
and but let's give credit to Buffalo's defense. They've been iffy, kind of, especially like those last 2 minutes of games. They stood strong. They
Especially
stopped.
against Kansas City.
Especially, but like I don't know what it is, but in the regular season, it's always Buffalo seems to have Casey's number, but in the
Yeah,
playoffs,
last
it's the
couple of years,
opposite.
right? That's
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
last year too, KC sealed the loss with an interception. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. So good on
Right.
them. But Bill's offense, it wasn't quite explosive like as we've seen from Joe Brady in recent weeks, but he did a good job, making calls when he
it,
needed to.
listen,
Some missed opportunities.
at this point, I don't think Buffalo cares if they win 2-0 or 100-0. Like I think they just want to rack up those wins and get into the playoffs because they know that's where they belong in. They want to
Yeah.
they want to save the energy to do the damage where it matters most. I
Right.
mean,
That's fair.
of course, as a division rival and someone who's witnessed Buffalo choke for years, they're not going to, but it's nice to watch them try.
Yeah. Speaking of trying, the
Boy.
Eagles did not seem to be trying on Sunday Night Football in Dallas.
No,
Credit Dallas, they made
but
them
no,
look.
star of the game. We need a highlight right now. Stephon Gilmore making us proud right there.
Stephon Gilmore in the Cowboys
Gilmore's
pass rush.
yeah.
You know, Cowboys. Well,
making us proud right
yeah,
there.
I'd say really the entire Cowboys, secondary, they were forcing fumbles and making plays on the ball all night long. And Al Harris, I don't know why he's not a defensive coordinator right now, but he should be on the very, very, very short list of any defensive coordinator jobs coming into next year. Green Bay, Green Bay. Sorry, I might have coughed, but yeah, he should be on that short list. So
you've in your cough, you also forgot the Dolphins.
I don't think so. Dolphins are, it's Vic Fangio. They've had a top defense.
Yeah,
Have they been?
they could have used that defense like a little yesterday, especially in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Idiots.
so we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Just a Packers Giants. Wow. Tommy DeVito. I don't know
Great
how he's
game.
doing it, but he's doing it. But also, Dak might win MVP for the Cowboys. Yeah. Tommy DeVito, what a game he had. Jordan Love, after all the progress we've seen, he took a step back. We shouldn't be completely criticizing him and causing the world to break down, but it is fair that we should give him a little bit of criticism. 2 turnovers, but he made plays when he needed to. It's just his defense couldn't get the stop. A certain
in typical Packers fashion.
A certain Al Harris might know about making a stop when they need to on defense. Maybe just me, but Brian Dable, are they gonna make the playoffs this year? Don't think so. But
Absolutely
Tommy DeVito,
not. Probably not. I doubt it.
Tommy DeVito should be your QB2.
Yeah,
at
I
least
think
through next year.
he's like a high end backup.
I don't know.
Who
knows? Maybe he might have a chance of going for that starter's role.
He could, yeah.
I hope so. I hope he at least they give him a
listen,
shot to compete with DJ.
Listen, we've seen crazier things happen. I mean, of course, this is nowhere near that comparison. We've seen it before with Bledsoe Brady. We've seen it before with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. We've seen it before with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. We've seen the script before, and of course, those 3 scripts have had a lot of success. Will this have that same success? We don't know.
Yeah.
But we're just saying,
Yeah.
don't be surprised if it happens.
Yeah.
Right. It definitely
And
is.
then Daniel Jones becomes officially the most expensive backup quarterback in NFL history.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well,
And
it's kind of like
speaking of expensive contracts, we will talk about that soon enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So let's go to Miami. Pretty great game, man.
The Dolphins.
Yeah. You got to credit Will Levis. He's a rookie playing on Sunday Night Football against a Miami crowd that's that has been really itching for their Dolphins to get the 1 seed or make the be a playoff at least host a playoff game.
To be fair to the Dolphins, Tyreek going out early with the ankle injury.
Yes,
that messed up a lot of offensive rhythm.
And I think this is why Tyreek Hill should probably be MVP because you've seen this offense function with him and without him, and it's clear that this offense is really bad without him.
I mean, if we take
but we also have to recognize this and also have to recognize Mike Vrabel for his defensive genius and how he was able to limit the Dolphins, but even with Tyreek being left out, and for him to make all those late game decisions going for 2 and hoping for a stop on defense.
Very gutsy calling. We've seen it the past few years. Being gutsy gets you wins in the NFL.
Yeah.
Not being passive, being conservative does not get you wins.
Yeah.
Being gutsy, taking the risks, and having that initiative.
This is the first Titans road win of the year, and they broke their curse of not scoring 20 on their road somehow. This was good, man. Credit, Will Levis, credit their offensive line, credit Derrick Henry. They all did great things in this game. Credit DeAndre Hopkins too, man. We all clown on him for going to Tennessee, rightfully so, but he's balling out.
Yeah. I'm still a little bit better he didn't come to New England, but
Yeah. So speaking of contracts, yeah, so there definitely deserves to be some talk about Shohei's massive, this is
And
what this is
and
unprecedented.
potentially Juan Soto's massive deal that could come up
Yeah.
soon enough.
Well, not deal. I
Yeah,
think but
for
like
yeah.
didn't he get paid last year already?
No.
With you know
Juan Soto is going to free agency this season. So I mean,
okay.
like,
Mhm.
but he said like there's like I saw it from a New York Post article a couple years ago, a couple hours ago, saying that Soto's open to signing an extension first, like right now,
Yeah.
and that's unusual news because his agent is Scott Boras, and if
Yeah.
any fan knows who Scott Boras is, he is notorious for making his like players basically wait until free agency to get the most amount of cheddar they possibly can. So with Soto saying that he's open to signing an extension right now,
The Yankees
that
shouldn't, Brian Cashman, you have to like step
but
on the metal and do that right now.
but it's also a testament to two things. One, he might have been secretly unhappy in San Diego, and two,
Hmm.
he must have really wanted out of Washington D.C. if he turned down a
Yeah. I
$15
don't
$440 million contract.
I don't think he was just unhappy in San Diego. I just think he was unhappy with how the season went for them with all the, sky high
Yeah,
expectations.
especially when
So,
they went to the NLCS in 2022. But
yeah.
and
So,
that's in 23. I mean, Bob Melvin, like one of the best managers in the game right now, he essentially is just defects. Like you're
yeah.
and of course the very sad news of Peter Seidler, their owner, dying. So like
Hmm. Yeah.
and I think AJ Preller, one of the most incompetent GMs in all of baseball, like I think
Hmm.
Soto was given the idea that San Diego doesn't really have that much of a vision right now, and that's you. Like they said that they were going to cut payroll for 24. He saw there's an opportunity that the window might be closing, and then that's where the trades speculation and
Yeah.
everything started like that. But I guess before we lose track, let's go back to Otani.
Yeah. So Otani, what, 10 years, 700 million, largest
But
contract. I mean,
but
I think ever,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
like,
I think that's
but
larger than Messi's contract. I think that was around
yeah,
670 or something. But
yeah. But
that's not
let's,
the news to me. The
yeah,
news
the
to me
news
is
is
that
him deferring
Deferring.
almost
It's
all of
very
it.
interesting. Yeah.
essentially making
10
$20 million
years.
over the next 10 years, and
Yeah.
with California taxes, $20 million over 10 years, that's probably going to turn into what, $6? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the
But
thing is,
I think he was, honestly, I expected him to stay in LA, just switch teams because of like it's kind of home. He kind of knows that area. I think he's probably familiar with some of the people there on the Dodgers staff. Um, Great on him, man. Um, he just, he signs with the contender in his own backyard. He doesn't have to make an expensive,
Right.
move shift or anything. This is the best possible situation for him, man.
and
He does.
the best part is he's essentially doing what Brady does, taking less to sign more. I mean, of course, this is acting in terms of a deferment. So like, there's the
Yeah.
possibility of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the
Yes.
Japanese ace, signing over,
Yeah.
and
Right.
dear God help us if he goes to the Dodgers. I hope he doesn't, but
It
there's
would
a
be
very
like,
strong
it
possibility.
would be like
And then
collecting the Infinity Stones is
yeah,
something,
Yeah.
and then now the Dodgers are apparently also on the rumor to be trading for Tyler Glasnow. Like if you've seen
Yeah.
Tyler Glasnow over the past few years, he is, you could certainly argue, a top five pitcher in all of baseball, and
Yeah.
certainly probably, and at the very worst, a top five pitcher in the American League. So
Yeah.
like this opens up a lot of opportunity for the
I
Dodgers.
think, yeah,
But
I think this also sends a message to other teams, and like trade and then this one thing. Teams that are kind of on the fence, like some of them that have made the playoffs or just missed, you have to go like if you're not gonna go down swinging, then you're not gonna make it like anywhere close. And I think and the best part is, even though Ohtani can't pitch until 2024, he doesn't have to. He has, the Dodgers have great pitchers. He, just have to put up some great offense.
no, the Dodgers right now, I'd say their pitching staff is a little bit shaky. Like all they have healthy right now is Walker Buehler. I mean, Tony Gonsolin is, I believe he's on Tommy John surgery and won't be pitching next year. Dustin May's had a lot of arm injuries, and of course,
Hmm.
we still don't know what's going to be up with Clayton Kershaw. We don't know what's Clayton Kershaw is one of the best pitchers in baseball when he's healthy.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, and it sucks. I mean, even though I hate the Dodgers, I love watching Kershaw pitch. he has been one of the most cursed pitchers in terms of injuries and in terms of
Yeah,
and in
and this
terms
is
of
why, and
playoff
this is why,
disaster.
yeah, and this is why they want to sign Yamamoto. You
Th-
know, but like give
They
that,
just they just might, and then also like make a play for Tyler Glasnow, and then Lucas Giolito. He could put like a former White Sox, former Angels pitcher. He could certainly be in the mix. Luis Sessa. Who knows? Maybe even Blake Snell also goes to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers just
Mhm.
they just throw a boatload
Mhm.
of money to everyone, and they just rule baseball in the Dodgers dynasty for at least the next 6 years. But the thing is, with all of the moves that Dodgers are making right now, they've put an immense amount of pressure on themselves. Like especially with the amount of payroll they're taking in, with all the star-studded talent, with the expectations. Like we've seen this. I mean, come on, Arnav. We've seen this within the New York market. Like all of the money
Yeah.
that the Yankees pour in, all the money that the Mets pour in, and even to an extent like the Red Sox. Like, I mean, of course that's Boston, but it's like talking primarily New York. Like we've seen the amount of money these teams constantly pour in, because I mean, for Steinbrenner when he was alive, George Steinbrenner, anything less than a championship was basically a failure of a season. He would not take failure as I mean, no one would
Yeah.
take failure as,
Mhm.
oh, let's just go at it next year. George
Speaking,
Steinbrenner attacked every single offseason. And while the Yankees certainly didn't, win every offseason or win the championship every season, you have to respect Steinbrenner's resolve to do everything at the expense of winning a championship, even if it means most of the expenses coming out of his pocket.
Right. Yeah. Agreed.
speaking of that, speaking of failure, let's go to the NBA. The Lakers,
No, no, no,
probably.
no, 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 no. That does not count. That does not.
Yeah.
Give me
Lakers won
that.
the in-season
No,
tournament.
no,
We
no, no,
get
no,
it.
no,
Like, I
no.
mean,
Give me that stupid banner and let me wipe myself, because that's what that banner's worth. That
it's
banner's
just
no more worth than 1 wad of toilet paper. It is the
Yeah.
most meaningless garbage I've ever seen. I'm not saying
it's
this
so
because
funny.
I
Like,
hate the
of course,
Lakers.
like the Lakers were gonna win that. Like, I wish it was at least Lakers Bucks in the finals, so we could have got like
No, no,
something
no.
star-studded. But
Stop saying finals. It's a stupid regular season tournament. You're hoisting up a banner because you won a regular season
I
game.
mean, like, give me a
Are you
break.
kidding
Yeah.
me? No,
Anyway,
no, aren't enough. Imagine this. Let's say like during the first game of the season, the Knicks actually beat the Celtics. Like, and when Porzingis was coming back, what are the Knicks going to do? Go up to the rafters, hoist a banner that says, "We beat Porzingis in our homecoming game in our home opening game for the 2023 season." Are you kidding me? It's the most ridiculous crap I've ever heard.
Mhm.
So when the Lakers do host their banner, and I believe it's December 18th, if I remember correctly, I will be laughing so hard, because
so
that's
funny.
essentially a banner that says we won a bunch of regular season games. That sounds like the most loser thing
Yeah.
I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And
Agree.
I think.
Something with LeBron hanging up fake banners. I mean, it's nothing new
Mhm.
to me.
Yeah. So speaking of, so let's go to the NHL real quickly. Jitesh, you want to do any recaps real quickly? Not sure we
Uh
have much time.
yeah,
Oh,
we have a little bit of time, but it's like
yeah.
I guess like main recaps are all right, yeah, I can get this done. So after the Rangers have been dominating over the past few weeks, they've slowly slowed down a bit, and especially with the fairly embarrassing loss right now to Toronto 7-3. The Panthers have been on the climb. Tampa Bay's been very shaky. Let's see, that's the Atlantic for the most part. So Ottawa still is pretty much in love with being 500. I have no idea why. Let's see. Oh wait, Rangers are Metropolitans, but the Devils are still like struggling a little bit to find their footing. It's going to be a matter of time
Mhm.
eventually. Then Carolina Hurricanes. Stahl has his 12 had his 1200th game started, which is a pretty darn good milestone. Oh, here's some news. Washington. Um, and this isn't concerning. You know what? We could just end it off of here. Washington, both the Wizards
Oh yeah.
and the Capitals,
I
because they
heard
play in
that.
the same
Yeah.
stadium. Their owner, what's his name again? Ted Leonsis,
Mm.
Leonsis. He's planning to move those DC teams into Virginia. So
Mhm.
that's going to be very
Yeah.
interesting seeing where this
Interesting.
goes. So
Yeah.
what are the Washington Capitals going to be? The Virginia Almost
Mhm.
Capitals?
Yeah, who
I don't
knows?
know. But the thing that I don't understand is that their stadium is like only like 15, 20 years old. What do you need a new stadium for? That's what I don't believe the lease has expired. It's certainly an
No.
interesting
I think
predicament.
I think our time is up. So Arnav, you want to sign us
Yeah,
off?
well, yeah, it's been a great episode of Sports Vibes. Always, stay tuned for more content next week.